Please state and spell your full legal name.
Katina Vasquez, Katina, V as in Victor, Asquez.
Please raise your right hand. I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you give today shall be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes? Okay. Thank you. Please proceed.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hi, I'm Katina Vasquez.
And do you know Laurie Shaver?
Yes, sir.
Do you see her here in the courtroom today and can identify her by something that she's wearing?
A black jacket.
And how did you meet Laurie Shaver?
Through Scott Amatuccio, my ex-fiance.
And do you remember approximately what year you would have met Laurie Shaver?
I believe we started dating 2006, 2007, and we ended the December 2014.
And did you know Michael Shaver?
Yes, sir.
And how did you meet him?
Through Scott.
And were Scott and Michael Shaver close friends?
Yes.
What was your, through meeting Laurie through her friend Mike, did you develop a friendship with her?
Yes, sir.
Did you develop a friendship with Michael Shaver?
Yes, sir.
Closer friends with her than Mike?
Yeah.
And did you ever go over to the Shaver residence after Mike disappeared in November of 2015?
Yes, sir.
And why were you going over there?
She said he had left, and I went over just to see how she was doing.
And did Laurie say anything to you about where Mike was?
No, just that he left in a black SUV in the middle of the night.
And did she reference anything to you about Mike's work or whether or not he was still working there?
That I don't think he was going to work.
And did she tell you specifically how he informed his employer that he was no longer going to work for them? You don't remember anything about that? Mm-hmm. Okay. While you were there, did you see anything that you thought was unusual based on the story that she gave you that Mike had just left?
Yeah, all his stuff was still there.
When you say all this stuff, what do you mean?
She was in the she was on the porch on the phone, and I went into the bathroom, and like all his stuff was like still in the closet and stuff, and the car was there.
Talk about clothes, toiletries, things of that nature. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see any extra phones in the residence?
There was a black phone on the counter.
Now, while you were there, was the defendant trying to sell or get rid of any of Michael's property?
Yes.
And what was that?
She was on the back porch on the phone and was trying to sell guns, and I asked, why are you selling Mike's guns? Isn't he going to need them? And she said she bought them. They were hers.
Now, were you familiar with the domestic violence case where Mike Shaver was arrested in 2014?
Yes, sir.
And how did you become familiar with that?
Laurie told me.
And what did she tell you about that 2014 domestic violence case?
At her house, she said, because Mike had come back into the home, he was living at an airport, and she said that, and I was kind of like, why is he here, kind of, and she said that she was working with being honest with her therapist, and that Mike didn't touch her, like all the wounds were from her. She threw a vase and broke a door. It wasn't Mike, and he was actually trying to stop her because she had a gun and was trying to kill herself.
When did your friendship with Laurie Shaver end?
2017.
And at the time in 2017 when the friendship ended, did she make any statements to you relating to Michael Shaver still being alive?
Yes, sir.
And what did she tell you?
She was going to move up to Gainesville because I had a son and couldn't afford daycare. And she was going to drive up, look for houses. She got my Starbucks order, took pictures of the kids in the car, and then disappeared Didn't hear from her for 2 weeks. Took me off Facebook. 2 weeks went by, and she finally got in touch with me and said that she panicked because Mike was in the parking lot, and she thought maybe Scott told Mike that she was coming up there and he was stalking her. And I'm like, well, why haven't you called me? And she said that the cops had her phone and the truck was at the police station because he was tracking it.
And this is in 2017 that she was saying Michael Shaver was stalking her.
Yes.
So clearly after May of 2016.
Yes.
And clearly after September of 2016 when the cement slab was put in her backyard.
Yes.
Nothing further.
Mr. Wiggs?
May it please the court.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, did you file a letter to support Laurie Shaver on an injunction?
No.
No? You never submitted any letter to DCF?
No.
Did Michael ever obstruct your relationship with Laurie?
No.
Okay. Now, when you said that Laurie was selling property out of the residence, do you have any understanding whether that was only Michael's property or whether it was marital property?
It was.
That she was by law prohibited in any manner?
She just said the guns, and I know the guns were theirs. And
Okay. Do you know anything about marital labor and contribution to the marriage?
no.
Correct. So you just assume this is Michael's property and she had no right to touch it, correct?
They were their guns. He built and restored guns. So
Do you know why the property was being sold?
no.
Do you know if it was maybe the need for groceries and necessities?
No.
Do you know if there was any plan to aid anybody with those funds to escape detection of a crime? Did you ever witness a murder or any event occur at the house?
No.
Now, the event that you spoke about an incident that occurred at the house, a crime, a battery, were you there to witness that event? Correct. Thank you.
Redirect. All right, thank you for testifying here today. You're excused from further testimony. Have a good day. Next witness.
At this time, the state of Florida rests.
All right, let's take the jurors out at this point. Have a comfort break. Have exited the courtroom. Are there any motions at this time?
Yes, Judge, we'd renew our motion for judgment of acquittal on same grounds previously stated. We'd also make clear that any these acts of violence that have been spoken of have been only offered for prejudicial value against the defendant. There's no probative value. There's no notice. It's not substantive evidence established to prove a prima facie case. It's purely circumstantial. The state supplied the court with case law. In that case law, there's a notation to a 5th DCA decision speaking about any relative probative value can be outweighed by the substantial prejudice that it presents. It should not have been presented to the jury. The digital data that the state relies on is not sufficient to establish causation. It does not establish the nature of the offense. It does not defeat a claim of self-defense. There's been reference to sale of guns. There's no distinguishing that this is non-marital funds, that Ms. Shaver had no right to sell this property, nor does it advance any claim to an accessory after the fact. We'd ask that the court grant a judgment of acquittal on these grounds and all other arguments previously mentioned before the court.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wiggs. State's response?
The state most favorable to, in the light most favorable to the state, there's sufficient evidence to present to the jury.
Motion's respectfully denied when viewed in a light most favorable to the state. The evidence does establish a prima facie case sufficient to support a conviction as to each count and the information. Motion's respectfully denied.